Alhamdulillah, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, may peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Have you ever felt the ache of your own dreams slipping between your fingers? Not because they were impossible, but because you revealed them too early? Sometimes the very thing you hope for, the vision you nurture in your heart, becomes vulnerable the moment it is spoken aloud. Allah has blessed you with a spark, a unique light. But the world does not always recognize, protect, or nurture that light. Remember, the Prophet taught us that sincerity is the soul of every action, and sincerity flourishes in privacy. There is a sacredness in the unseen. Allah watches, Allah knows, and Allah is the keeper of what He has placed in your heart. What you guard, He protects. What you sow quietly, He nourishes in ways that are often invisible to the eye, but profoundly transformative for your soul. We are human, and humans are fragile. Heartbreak, envy, doubt, and distraction linger in the spaces we cannot control. It is so easy to lose focus when every step is scrutinized, every intention questioned, every hope exposed. But when you retreat into quiet, you are not hiding, you are healing. When you protect your success, you are preserving the sacred energy that allows it to flourish. This is what Sabr truly means. Holding your dream with patience, guarding your heart from haste, trusting Allah with the timing you cannot see. Allah says in the Quran, do not display your deeds, Al-Baqarah 2:27-1, not to diminish our efforts, but to elevate them. In privacy, your actions are purified from pride and distraction. In privacy, your heart remains anchored to Him. In privacy, your dreams grow wings without interference, nurtured by prayer, intention, and tawakkul. So, remind yourself daily, the world does not determine your worth, nor does recognition define your success. Protect your journey, cherish your quiet growth, and let your soul bloom in the presence of Allah before the gaze of people. True success is never loud. It whispers in your heart, it blooms in patience, and it reflects in your gratitude. Your light is precious. Your dreams are sacred. Guard them fiercely, not out of fear, but out of love. Love for what Allah has placed in you, and trust in His plan that will unveil it in the perfect moment. Your quiet struggle today is your profound victory tomorrow, and when it unfolds, it will be more beautiful than you could ever imagine, because it was nurtured in the presence of Allah alone. Success is delicate, like a fragile bloom that requires careful nurturing and protection. It is not merely the result of effort or talent, but also of intention, timing, and the unseen forces that guide our lives. When we speak of success, we often focus on the external, achievements, recognition, and milestones, but what is often overlooked is the inner energy that shapes these outcomes. This energy, which comes from our faith, focus, and sincerity, can be disrupted by distraction, envy, or the influence of others. Each time we expose our plans prematurely, we invite opinions, doubts, and even negativity that can shift our path. What we protect in secrecy, however, is given space to grow in purity, untainted by the noise of the world. Allah sees the efforts of His servants even before they bear fruit, and His wisdom ensures that what is nurtured in the quietest corners of our heart blooms most beautifully. Just as a gardener carefully shields a young plant from harsh winds and scorching sun, we too must safeguard our ambitions from forces that might weaken them. Protecting your success does not mean hiding from the world out of fear. It is an act of trust and acknowledgement that Allah alone determines the timing and manifestation of our dreams. When we guard our efforts and keep them close to our hearts, we allow patience to grow, faith to deepen, and reliance on Allah to strengthen. In this sacred space of privacy, every small step becomes a prayer, every struggle a lesson, and every moment of effort an offering. The fragility of success is not a weakness, but a reminder that it must be handled with care, guided by intention, and surrendered to divine wisdom. True accomplishment thrives where it is nurtured quietly, and when revealed, it shines with the brilliance of a soul aligned with Allah's plan. Oversharing intentions can quietly erode the very success we strive to achieve. When we reveal our plans too early, we expose them to the eyes of the world, some of which may not wish us well, and some of which may unintentionally sow doubt or distraction. In Islam, the concept of protecting one's heart and intentions is deeply tied to sincerity before Allah. Every ambition, every dream begins as a seed in the soul, and like any seed, it requires a sheltered environment to grow strong and resilient. When we announce our intentions prematurely, we invite external pressures that can disturb our focus, alter our motivation, or make us vulnerable to the envy of others, known in our tradition as hasad. The energy of hasad is subtle but real. It can cloud the path of even the most dedicated hearts, weakening the flow of divine support that accompanies sincere effort. By keeping our plans private, we create a space where our intentions remain sacred, nurtured only by our own commitment and by Allah's guidance. This privacy is not isolation. It is protection, a way of ensuring that what grows in our hearts is authentic and not influenced by external validation or criticism. It is also an act of humility, a recognition that our dreams are ultimately in the hands of Allah and that we cannot control every reaction or outcome. As we strive, our unseen efforts gain strength and clarity, allowing patience, focus, and faith to flourish. The Prophet taught that sincere deeds are those hidden between a servant and Allah, untouched by worldly applause, and this principle applies to our ambitions as well. By choosing discretion, we honor the sanctity of our efforts, safeguard our emotional energy, and allow success to unfold according to divine wisdom, free from unnecessary interference or disturbance. Allah tests our patience and sincerity in private before granting public recognition. And this truth is woven into the fabric of our spiritual journey. Often we look at the world and measure success by what is seen, awards, praise, attention. But Allah's wisdom reminds us that the unseen effort carries the greatest weight. Before a tree bears fruit, its roots must grow deep beneath the soil, unseen and nurtured in silence. Similarly, our hearts, intentions, and actions are cultivated through quiet struggle and steadfast dedication. The tests we face in privacy, moments of doubt, fatigue, or uncertainty, are not obstacles, but divine tools to strengthen our resolve and purify our intentions. Sincerity, or ikhlas, is nurtured in the spaces where no one watches but Allah, and patience, or sabr, is honed in the moments when we carry our dreams alone. When we share our goals too soon or rely on the approval of others, we risk losing the sacred opportunity for these inner lessons. Allah tests each servant according to what He knows their heart can bear, and often the most profound growth occurs behind closed doors, away from the applause or criticism of the world. Every hardship, delay, or quiet struggle is a sign of Allah's care, a way to prepare us for the greater responsibility and blessing that comes with true achievement. The Prophet taught that sincerity and patience are the foundations of lasting success, and these virtues are strengthened in the hidden corners of our lives, where effort is devoted purely to Allah. By embracing privacy in our endeavors, we honor the process of spiritual development, protect our hearts from distraction, and allow Allah to orchestrate the timing of our success. Public recognition, when it comes, becomes not just a reward for our effort, but a reflection of the steadfast faith and private perseverance that preceded it. Quiet effort allows your work to mature without distraction or judgment, and this principle carries deep spiritual significance. In a world that celebrates instant visibility and public acknowledgement, there is profound wisdom in tending to your ambitions in silence. When you labor quietly, your focus remains unfragmented, your intentions remain pure, and your heart stays connected to Allah, rather than to the fleeting opinions of people. Every effort made away from the gaze of others becomes an offering, a form of worship in which the reward is measured by sincerity rather than applause. The Prophet reminded us that the value of a deed lies in its intention, and when we cultivate our goals privately, we safeguard the purity of that intention. Public scrutiny, even when well-meaning, can introduce pressure, doubt, and distraction, subtly altering the course of our work or the energy with which it is performed. Quiet effort allows mistakes to be learned from without shame, growth to occur without comparison, and patience to deepen naturally as we trust in Allah's plan. It is in this sacred space of privacy that our hearts are free to align with divine guidance, nurturing our goals with prayer, reflection, and persistence. Just as a seed requires darkness and stillness before it sprouts, our endeavors require a period of unseen growth before they can flourish fully. By embracing quiet effort, we are not hiding from the world, but protecting the integrity and sustainability of our success. We are allowing our work to develop in its own time, unhindered by the expectations, judgments, or distractions that accompany public exposure. In this way, our achievements, when they do manifest, are stronger, more resilient, and more meaningful, reflecting not just skill or ambition, but the patient, faithful heart that nurtured them in silence. Privacy preserves focus and clarity, allowing the heart to remain connected to Allah rather than being pulled in countless directions by the world around us. In our fast-paced, hyper-connected lives, it is easy to become distracted by opinions, comparisons, and external validation. And in doing so, we risk losing the purity of our intention. When we guard the details of our efforts and dreams, we create a sacred space where our focus is uninterrupted, where our energy is channeled entirely into the work Allah has placed in our hands. The Prophet taught us that actions are valued according to sincerity, and this sincerity flourishes when it is nurtured away from the gaze of others. In privacy, there is no pressure to perform for recognition, no fear of judgment, and no interference from envy or doubt. Every effort becomes an intimate conversation with Allah, a reflection of faith, and an exercise in trust. The mind remains clear, the heart calm, and the spirit aligned with divine purpose. This clarity allows us to see the path ahead with greater discernment, to recognize opportunities and challenges without distortion, and to make choices that are in harmony with our values and our faith. Privacy also shields the soul from unnecessary burdens and expectations, creating the emotional and spiritual space needed for patience, perseverance, and growth. By keeping our endeavors discreet, we protect the energy that drives success, ensuring that it is motivated by genuine desire and devotion rather than by worldly approval. In this protected space, our relationship with Allah deepens, our intentions remain pure, and our focus sharpens, allowing us to cultivate achievements that are not only meaningful, but enduring. The act of preserving privacy is, in itself, an expression of wisdom, trust, and spiritual discipline. Not everyone deserves to witness your journey, because the hearts of people vary, and not all are aligned with the purity of your intention or the sanctity of your dreams. Some eyes bring encouragement, but others carry doubt, judgment, or envy, which can subtly influence your focus, energy, and emotional well-being. In Islam, we are reminded that the sincerity of our efforts is measured not by public applause, but by the devotion with which we perform them for Allah alone. When we allow everyone to see our path, we risk exposing our vulnerabilities to those who may not understand, appreciate, or wish well for our growth. Some may even unconsciously impose their own fears, limitations, or expectations upon us, diverting us from the path that Allah has laid before our hearts. By keeping certain aspects of our journey private, we create a protective barrier that allows our intentions to remain pure, our energy undisturbed, and our focus unwavering. The Prophet often exemplified this principle through the way he conducted his personal acts of worship quietly and with humility, revealing them only when necessary to guide or teach. Similarly, our dreams and efforts flourish best in an environment where they are nurtured quietly, away from undue scrutiny. Privacy is not secrecy born of fear, but wisdom born of trust in Allah and respect for the sacredness of one's growth. It allows us to discern whose hearts are truly supportive and whose presence might unintentionally dilute our energy. By being selective with whom we share our journey, we preserve the sanctity of our work, the clarity of our intention, and the serenity of our heart, ensuring that when success comes, it is the result of focused effort, divine guidance, and unwavering sincerity rather than the shifting tides of external influence or approval. Publicizing your goals too soon can create pressures and expectations that weigh heavily on the heart, subtly shaping the way you approach your own dreams. When ambitions are shared prematurely, the eyes and opinions of others begin to influence your energy and focus, sometimes in ways that distract from the original purity of your intention. In our spiritual tradition, the Prophet taught us that sincerity and patience are the foundation of meaningful effort. And these virtues flourish most profoundly when our actions are devoted to Allah alone. Announcing a goal to the world often brings a sense of urgency that may not align with divine timing, creating unnecessary stress and the illusion that success must arrive on our schedule rather than Allah's. Each common expectation or question can become a subtle distraction, pulling the heart away from trust and reliance on Allah. Moreover, external validation, while comforting in the moment, can inadvertently shift motivation from devotion and sincerity to the desire for recognition or approval. True growth requires an environment of quiet focus, where effort is nurtured without interference, and where the soul can cultivate patience, perseverance, and trust in Allah's perfect plan. By delaying public disclosure of your ambitions, you allow your work to mature naturally, free from the weight of premature judgment or expectation. This approach also strengthens resilience, as you learn to find satisfaction and motivation from within and from your connection to Allah rather than from applause or acknowledgement. In the sacred space of privacy, your intentions are protected, your energy remains concentrated, and your heart is free to align fully with divine guidance. The unseen labor, when eventually revealed or manifested, carries the authenticity of faith, the beauty of patience, and the blessing of divine orchestration, making your success more profound, enduring, and spiritually fulfilling. Hidden efforts are a form of worship, a quiet devotion that strengthens both our work and our connection with Allah. When we labor without seeking recognition, applause, or validation from others, every action becomes an intimate act of obedience, a reflection of sincerity in our hearts. In Islam, ikhlas, sincerity, is the foundation upon which deeds are judged, and it flourishes most profoundly in privacy. The Prophet taught that the value of an action lies in its intention. And when our efforts are unseen, their purity is protected from the influence of pride, envy, or distraction. Working quietly allows us to focus on the process rather than the outcome, deepening our patience, perseverance, and reliance on Allah's plan. It is in these hidden moments that our faith is truly tested and strengthened as we continue to strive even without external acknowledgement. There is a sacred beauty in nurturing goals and dreams away from the gaze of the world, where our energy is devoted entirely to the task at hand and our hearts remain free from comparison or judgment. Each step, each effort, and each challenge becomes a subtle prayer, a form of dhikr, as we place our trust in Allah's wisdom and timing. Hidden efforts also cultivate humility, reminding us that success is ultimately a blessing from Allah, not merely a result of our own striving. By embracing privacy in our endeavors, we allow our work to grow naturally, our hearts to remain aligned with divine guidance, and our intentions to be fortified against distraction or interference. This sacred labor, performed quietly and sincerely, becomes a means of spiritual purification, strengthening the soul, and ensuring that when our achievements are finally revealed, they shine with authenticity, integrity, and the profound beauty of a heart fully devoted to Allah. Success is far sweeter when it blooms quietly, nurtured by prayer, intention, and trust in Allah, because the heart has been intimately involved in every step of its journey. When we guard our efforts from unnecessary exposure, we allow them to grow in an environment free from distraction, judgment, or the subtle pressures of comparison. Just as a gardener tends to a seed with care, watering it patiently and shielding it from harsh elements, we too must nurture our dreams with diligence and quiet devotion. This process cultivates patience, strengthens faith, and deepens our reliance on Allah, reminding us that true accomplishment is not measured by speed or recognition, but by the sincerity, consistency, and love invested in each step. The Prophet taught that hidden deeds hold great value in the sight of Allah, and their reward is often multiplied because they emerge from sincerity rather than the desire for human acknowledgement. Quiet cultivation allows us to refine our skills, correct our mistakes, and grow in character, all without the interference of public scrutiny. When success is unveiled after this period of careful nurturing, it carries a depth and resilience that cannot be achieved through rushed or superficial effort. The sweetness of accomplishment is not only in the achievement itself, but in the journey of devotion, struggle, and growth that leads to it. Each moment of patience, each unseen effort, each prayer offered in the quiet of the heart adds to the richness of that success. By protecting our work and allowing it to mature privately, we honor both the process and the divine timing of Allah, creating outcomes that are not only externally rewarding, but also spiritually fulfilling, leaving the heart nourished, grateful, and aligned with the blessings bestowed by its Creator. Allah says in the Quran, "Do not display your deeds." Al-Baqarah 227:1. Reminding us that the value of our efforts is not determined by public recognition, but by sincerity and devotion. This guidance speaks to the profound wisdom of guarding our actions and intentions, allowing them to remain pure and untainted by the gaze or judgment of others. When we publicize our efforts prematurely, we risk altering the energy behind them, shifting our focus from Allah to the approval or attention of people. In contrast, acts performed quietly with the sole aim of seeking Allah's pleasure carry a weight and significance that are often unseen but deeply transformative. The principle of not displaying deeds encourages humility, a recognition that every blessing, every skill, and every opportunity is ultimately from Allah, and that our role is to steward these gifts responsibly. Quiet devotion strengthens patience, reinforces sincerity, and nurtures trust in divine timing because it removes the distraction of external validation and allows the heart to remain anchored in faith. The Prophet exemplified this practice throughout his life, performing acts of worship, charity, and guidance with discretion, teaching us that the unseen labor of the heart often holds the greatest reward. By keeping our efforts private, we protect our intentions from pride, maintain focus, and cultivate a deep sense of inner peace. The act of safeguarding one's deeds is not secrecy born of fear or mistrust, but wisdom born of awareness that our connection to Allah is personal and sacred. When we honor this principle, our success becomes a reflection not just of our effort, but of our devotion, patience, and alignment with divine wisdom. Every step taken in private, every struggle endured silently, and every intention held sincerely before Allah carries with it the potential for immense spiritual reward, shaping not only the outcome, but the very soul that strives faithfully. Your soul benefits profoundly from quiet growth because true transformation often occurs away from the distractions and noise of the world. In the journey towards success, it is easy to become consumed by comparisons, judgments, and expectations placed upon us by others, but these external pressures can cloud the heart and dilute the purity of our intentions. When we cultivate our goals in privacy, we allow our spirit to develop resilience, patience, and sincerity, qualities that cannot be hurried or forced. The Prophet taught us that the unseen deeds, those performed solely for the pleasure of Allah, carry immense weight and reward, emphasizing that spiritual, growth thrives in intimacy with our Creator rather than in the spotlight of public attention. In moments of quiet effort, every struggle becomes a lesson, every challenge a means of purification, and every small victory a cause for gratitude. The soul, when nurtured privately, learns to rely on Allah completely, finding contentment not in recognition, but in the certainty that its efforts are seen by the one who knows all. Privacy also allows for reflection and self-correction without fear of embarrassment or external interference, enabling a deeper understanding of our strengths, weaknesses, and purpose. This internal cultivation fosters inner peace as the heart is no longer tethered to the fluctuating opinions or judgments of others. Quiet growth strengthens tawakkul, the trust in Allah's plan, because we learn to release control over outcomes and surrender fully to divine wisdom. As the soul develops in this protected space, success, when it eventually manifests, is not only an external achievement, but a testament to spiritual maturity, sincerity, and devotion. The unseen efforts and silent perseverance shape the heart in ways that public recognition never could, leaving the soul fortified, aligned with faith, and fully prepared to embrace the blessings that Allah has destined. Protecting your privacy prevents arrogance and keeps gratitude at the heart. Because when accomplishments are shielded from public display, the soul remains humble and mindful of its dependence on Allah. Exposure can easily inflate the ego, creating a subtle shift from devotion and sincerity to pride and self-centeredness. When success is shared too widely or prematurely, it risks becoming a source of validation rather than an expression of sincere effort, and the heart may start measuring its worth by the praise or attention of people rather than the approval of Allah. In Islam, humility is a virtue nurtured by awareness of one's place before Allah, recognizing that every blessing, every skill, and every opportunity originates from Him. By keeping our achievements and struggles private, we allow gratitude to grow naturally within us, because our focus remains on Allah's wisdom, mercy, and guidance, rather than on comparison or external recognition. The Prophet exemplified this principle, often performing acts of worship and charity quietly, teaching us that true value lies not in how many witness our deeds, but in the sincerity and intention behind them. Privacy acts as a shield for the heart, preventing arrogance from taking root and allowing the soul to remain grounded, reflective, and thankful. It fosters contentment and inner peace as we no longer chase approval or measure our worth by worldly standards, but instead find fulfillment in knowing that our actions are aligned with divine guidance. Protecting what is sacred in our journey cultivates a balance between effort and reliance on Allah, strengthening tawakkul and ensuring that our hearts remain open to gratitude. When privacy is maintained, every success becomes a reminder of divine mercy, every challenge an opportunity for humility, and every step a lesson in sincere devotion, allowing the soul to flourish in faith and in alignment with Allah's wisdom. Patience and tawakkul are strengthened when achievements aren't under public scrutiny, because the heart is free to trust Allah fully without the weight of external expectation. When our efforts are exposed too soon, we may begin to measure progress through the lens of others' approval, praise, or judgment, which can create anxiety, self-doubt, or a sense of urgency that is not aligned with divine timing. True patience, or sabr, is cultivated in moments when we persevere quietly, placing our trust entirely in Allah's plan and acknowledging that outcomes are not ours to control. The Prophet taught that reliance on Allah is a cornerstone of faith and that enduring trials with steadfastness and trust elevates both our deeds and our character. By working in privacy, we are granted the sacred space to grow resilience, strengthen faith, and maintain clarity of intention. Our focus remains on the journey itself, not on how quickly success is recognized or validated by others. Tawakkul becomes a living practice in these quiet moments as we release control over the timing and nature of results, knowing that Allah, in His infinite wisdom, will bring forth what is best for us at the right moment. The heart learns to endure hardship, to persist through setbacks, and to celebrate small victories with gratitude, free from distraction or comparison. Protecting our efforts from public view allows patience to mature naturally, creating a deep sense of contentment and inner peace that cannot be shaken by external opinions or pressures. In this private space, reliance on Allah becomes tangible, our motivation remains pure, and every step of progress is a reflection of faith rather than worldly approval. Success, when it eventually unfolds, is thus seasoned with perseverance, trust, and the profound reward that comes from submitting fully to divine wisdom. True success is as much spiritual as it is material, and privacy safeguards both by protecting the heart, intention, and focus. In Islam, achievement is not measured solely by worldly milestones, wealth, or recognition, but by the alignment of our actions with Allah's guidance and the sincerity with which we pursue our goals. When our efforts are exposed prematurely or shared indiscriminately, the heart may be swayed by pride, comparison, or the subtle influence of others' opinions, which can compromise the purity of intention that gives our success its spiritual value. By maintaining privacy, we preserve the sanctity of our work, allowing it to grow naturally under the care of patience, perseverance, and reliance on Allah. The Prophet emphasized the importance of sincerity, teaching that deeds performed for Allah alone carry the greatest reward. And this principle extends beyond acts of worship to the cultivation of our talents, ambitions, and endeavors. Quiet dedication allows the soul to develop humility, gratitude, and trust, qualities that are essential for both worldly and spiritual fulfillment. Privacy creates a protected space where effort, reflection, and intention are aligned, free from distraction, judgment, or the pressure of public scrutiny. In this sacred space, we learn to measure success not by external approval, but by the growth of our character, the deepening of our faith, and the sincerity of our devotion. Every challenge endured, every effort made in secrecy, and every moment of patience nurtures both the material outcome and the spiritual maturity that accompanies it. Success that is cultivated in privacy is resilient, authentic, and blessed because it is intertwined with faith, gratitude, and alignment with divine wisdom. By safeguarding our journey, we protect not only what we achieve in the world, but also the growth and sanctity of our soul, ensuring that our accomplishments reflect both excellence and spiritual integrity. In every journey of success, the greatest victories are not measured by applause, recognition, or immediate results, but by the strength, patience, and sincerity cultivated within the heart. Protecting your efforts, guarding your intentions, and embracing privacy are not acts of fear. They are acts of wisdom, faith, and devotion. When you nurture your dreams quietly, you allow them to grow under the guidance of Allah, free from distraction, envy, or external pressure. Every hidden effort becomes a seed of lasting success. Every moment of patience strengthens your character, and every act done sincerely for Allah's pleasure carries immense reward. Remember that true achievement is not only what the world sees, but what Allah knows and what your soul carries in faith, gratitude, and resilience. Protect your journey, trust His timing, and let your heart remain anchored in devotion. For when success unfolds in its divine moment, it will shine brighter, feel deeper, and bring a fulfillment that public recognition alone could never provide. Your light, nurtured in silence and sincerity, is unstoppable when aligned with Allah's plan.